Would you do the roll, Megan, please?
Can I get my Tylenol from Sarah very quickly and then I will?
Okay, I guess. Tylenol.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I apologize, I get migraines. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh,
okay.
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. Mueller. Here. White. Here. Schrader.
Here.
Hinderman. Here. Paul.
Right.
Bowden.
Here.
Andrews.
Here. Thank you. Proof of giving public meeting notice, Aaron.
Notices are posted at both schools, sent to Village City City Hall, and members of the media, Tuesday, March 9th.
Item 3 is the consideration of the consent agenda. Are there any items, A through F, that the board would like pulled for further discussion? I will just make a comment. Sad to see Troy's resignation, but I understand that you've got a great opportunity and we wish you nothing but the best, Troy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity I had here.
Thank you.
Like I said, we will miss it here. We definitely will. So thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller.
Yes.
White. Yes. Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman. Yes. Paul.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Administrative reports. We'll start with Troy.
2 weeks, big weeks, I guess, a couple weeks ago. We had Read Across America Week where we had some guest readers drop in. We did some prizes for the students, handed out books. Really an enjoyable way for us to focus on reading and allow them to do it in a relaxed setting, which is obviously one of the big things that we always stress. So a big thank you to Ms. Casper, Ms. Redfern, and Ms. Gall for all their hard work organizing this event. We had National Breakfast Week, School Breakfast Week. Again, guest servers, free breakfast, prizes. Big thank you to our food service ladies for organizing the amazing event. We, on Tuesday of this week, started our forward exam testing, our state exam testing. In a show of support, we held a short school-wide pep rally for our students in grades 3 through 5, which they seem to love. Our testing window is March 18th through the 25th. We're excited to see how they do with all the support. It's really a focus, but at the same time, we're very important letting students know, do the best you can. That's what we're looking for, so we can kind of grow off of the area. 2 weeks ago, we had a Donuts with Dad event. Over 130 families signed up to come. Went off without a hitch, which was good because we had with students over 300 and some come through, I believe, and about 170 chairs. So, but I don't know how it worked. Thank you, dads. They rotated in and out pretty quickly, and that wasn't a problem. So that's always great to see. Last week we finished our reading challenge. Students are challenged to read for a month. Students in grades early childhood through first grade read 2,069 books, and students and staff in grades 2 through 5 and staff, I should say, 100,333 minutes they read. Now, as a reward, students get to get, I guess staff as well, from what I understand, get a little revenge on Mr. Krause. Last year I was silly stringed. This year they're throwing water balls. If you know me, I do not like being wet. I know, one of those things. So I'm hoping for a lot of bad aim, is what I'm hoping for. I feel confident in the staff that way, but the students. But really, along with promoting reading, again, reading being a big thing, it sets up for our spring book fair as well. And then we did recently complete 3K and 4K screening. We had 51 students that we screened for possible 4K, 3K. 46 are possible Cuba City Elementary or Country Care, and 9 are undecided. So we are expecting another big group coming through, which is a great problem to have, obviously. But again, a lot of staff members put in time past the 3:30 to really help us with our successful streams. I want to thank all of them as well. That's all I have.
Thank you, Troy.
Yep.
Chris, middle and high school.
Yeah, our winter sports have all wrapped up with an extremely exciting trip to Green Bay for our girls basketball team. They earned the runner-up position in the state championship game. Congratulations to Coach Derby and the girls on an amazing season. I want to thank Mr. Austin Simons, Miss Nancy Merwin, and Miss Tony Kettler for chaperoning our fan buses. This allowed several students to make the trip to Green Bay that otherwise would not have been able to. Spring sports are either moving along or will be shortly. Track and field has already competed in an indoor meet. Softball is traveling to Prairie du Chien this Friday. And baseball started this Monday. Boys golf will begin next Monday. Congratulations to Andy Miller as he moves on to the state competition for discussion and public speaking in FFA. Middle school put on two very successful shows of 28 plays in 28 minutes plus commercials. Thank you to all the cast and crew, and especially Mrs. Williams and Miss Updike Ames for directing the show. Thank you to Miss Rollins and Miss Updike Ames for putting together the National History Day program. We had 22 students that were able to compete at the regional competition yesterday in lacrosse, and 8 of those students have now qualified to compete at the state level in April. Jazz band and choir hosted a concert on Monday, March 11th. It was a great night of music. Thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Clayton for helping these students prepare for a great show. Congratulations to our forensics students and coaches. They competed at the district meet in Barneville, and all groups and individuals qualified to move on to the state meet in April, which will be at UW-Madison. Thank you to Ms. Sitz, Ms. Meyer, Ms. Slatt for coaching our students, and to Mrs. Williams and Mr. Simon for helping out as judges. And lastly, I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Clayton for rearranging their schedules and bringing the pep band to state tournament. I do know that it was a lot, as they had solo ensemble planned for that Saturday. They very selflessly put that on hold to allow our students to travel to Green Bay. This meant getting up very early, spending about 8 hours on a bus full of students, and then having to arrange for judges to come to school so that we could do the solo ensemble here at another date and time. And I do want to recognize their efforts as they allowed our band students to have a state tournament experience and added to all of our fans and players' experience as well.
Thank you, Chris. Deb is not here tonight, so we're going to skip to Heather in the business report.
An update on the 23-24 budget. At the end of February, we were 66% of our way through our fiscal year, and we spent about 47%, which is a little more than $4.7 million. This is in line with our spending last year. Keep in mind that a lot of spending occurs with our summer payrolls because our teachers are paid in July and August, but those are backdated to June 30th. An update on our Fund 49. We did have revenue of $349,000, $333.63. Our expenses were $349,000, and then our balance at the end of the month was $15,477.51. In other news, I have reviewed all of the 24-25 teacher budgets. I have also reviewed all of the department budgets as well. I did participate in the 2 community sessions regarding the operating referendum, and I just want to thank everyone that attended both of those meetings. And then finally, I have all the documents prepped and ready to go for the April 2nd election. As a reminder, we are having a school board vote as well as an operating referendum vote, and the operating referendum will be on the back of the ballot. So in case the clerks don't remind you, please flip over your ballot to make sure you vote. And then on that evening of April 2nd, all of the clerks will be calling Mr. Olson or myself and let us know what their votes are for their municipality. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Heather. Aaron?
Last night we had our community listening session. We had the second one. It's here in Cuba City. We had about 30 people here. Before we had it in Dickeyville there were about 20 people that showed up. So here are some items I want to share with everybody before the election. So as we're taking our first step here off the fiscal cliff that was recent. We provided as by our Wisconsin state budget. A few things that we're looking at. One, an operating referendum is needed. If it fails in April, I will be recommending that we go back in November. Items and estimates that are considered non-staff related, things that we've talked about. Curriculum budget, about $75,000 we have next year. We can push that off for a year, but we spend close to $100,000 a year providing our teachers with the resources that they need to keep their curriculum up to date. Like we could push that off for a year and just pause it, but that's not something that we can just take out and say, well, we'll just keep with our 2023 curriculum for the foreseeable future. Technology budget, again, for 1 year, we can probably get by without purchasing any new laptops for teachers and Chromebooks for kids and Clear Touches for classrooms. Although a couple of our Clear Touches have had some parts go out that are a little more expensive than we had. The replacement parts are more expensive than we thought. But again, you can put those off for a year maybe, but not something that can just go away. Benefit reductions. I've asked our insurance brokers to look at plans that save with insurance, and that's going to be, possibly higher copay, taking out in cash in lieu of insurance for staff members. Heather and I have talked, not sure if that's going to save or cost us, because if we say, well, you can keep the cash in lieu of for this amount, or you're going to take our insurance is more expensive than cash in lieu of. So we're not sure, but those are examples. Then we go into teacher budgets. Teachers have been given a budget. If the referendum passes, it's here. If the referendum doesn't pass, it's about 30% of what you get. Outside of math workbooks, we'll make sure that everybody has math workbooks. Athletic budget. Most of that athletic budget is really to pay for the people who work the games, the officials, the people that take the tickets, and a lot of those things. That's a very large part. So there's some minor cuts we could do with equipment, but not a whole lot to gain there. That leaves a lot for staff reductions. Average total cost of a certified staff member is about $85,000. Average cost of a support staff member is about $55,000. So you can do the math there to get to $600. That's a lot. So those are some of the things that we've shared at the community meetings for those people who weren't there. But April 2nd is a big date for the Cuba City School District for sure. In FEMA news, last week we received an additional RFI. That's a request for information. One was about our stormwater system, and another one was about HVAC system. We answered those. We got those answers quickly to Jordan, and through the help of the construction managers at Epic and our architects. We've heard from FEMA Region 5 that have said there is no timeline for the final award, and you're not going to get a timeline. So thank you for that. We have Senator Baldwin's office assisting us now. They're advocating on our behalf. David Timmerman from Grant County Independent is writing a series on the FEMA grant, and he seems to have gotten a lot more information than us when he calls and says, hey, I'm a reporter doing a story on FEMA's efficiency and working with Cuba City and Potosi. He tends to get to the right people from time to time more than we can. So we appreciate both Senator Baldwin's office and David Timmerman for helping us out with that. We had a meeting today. Potosi got some different questions than we did, even though that we're kind of on similar paths, but we answered the questions that we were given, and hopefully those were done today. And we hope that we get final award as soon as possible. We did hear that it made its way through Homeland Security and the congressional signatures that it needed, which is usually a really big step. You can imagine going from one office to another office isn't always easy. So we're very happy that we're past that phase. And David Timmerman did tell us that through one of his questions, no school has ever been at the point that we're at and not gotten the grant. Pessimistic side of me says, well, I hope we're not the first. If history prevails, we'll be okay. Just have to wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Are we extra long compared to the schools that have gotten in the past? Or have all of them taken this long?
Good question. So this is the first year that the BRIC grant has been awarded. So they've been FEMA safe houses before, but because it's a new department, the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, we're the first group that's done that. So he was looking back at all the previous projects like ours, but because it's a different name, it's got a few different steps in it. So we're really the first to go through this process.
But basically, I think what we learned, or at least the question I asked Dan was that since we just got an RFI and we had filed the initial, or this is the second RFI, the first one was in December, which we answered, and we didn't hear anything till March. My feeling is it just went somewhere and sat.
That was kind of confirmed today. They're like, well, check the dates. This was signed off on July 25th, and now it just, for 6 weeks, no one knew where it was.
The FEMA's engineers looked at it and signed off on it on January 25th. And nobody's heard anything since then. So whether David Timmerman or somebody was able to finally make somebody go look for it and have something happen, why that's what it at least sounds like in the last few days, that they finally cleared the dust off and hopefully it will move along. Other questions of Eric? All righty. Moving on to the discussion about the April 2nd operating referendum.
Talked about that a little bit in my report. Are there any questions or things that are coming up that you're hearing that you want to have a discussion about as a board? I know we've got some people in the crowd, we've got some people watching at home. Are there any questions that you want to talk about, or any pieces of information we want to share? It's the last time we meet before the election.
There was a question last night that I guess I regret that we didn't talk more about, and that was about the initial school referendum with the building project. And now, had there been any forethought, why did we go through with that, knowing that this may be coming? And I guess I regret I didn't say that. As a board, I feel we did that for the kids. I think our facilities are as poor as anybody in the area, and what we did, we need and needed. And it's a different question. Again, it's two different pots of money. We would have had this issue regardless.
And I don't think we could have known the degree to which we would have had this issue. No one could have predicted 8% inflation, 4% inflation when the average is 2%. We had been trying to make up ground through investing in our open enrollment, and that had helped us close the gap for several years, or at least come closer to closing it. And then record inflation hits, and we were just in a much worse situation than we could have even anticipated.
And I appreciate you saying that, Dan, because obviously, yes, we needed the building upgrades very much. Obviously, maybe tough for the public to understand that they've got a pot of money and they can use it to remodel their house and buy groceries. We can't do that. The voters said, we'll give you money for a building. We can't use the building money to pay teachers or run the school. And obviously, as Megan said, the crystal ball, or at least mine personally, got lost. And, and at this point, we need the operating referendum. And we're, sadly not the only one. And I think it's sort of the perfect storm. At this point, the legislature didn't, help us as much as we hoped with school funding. So it is falling back on the taxpayers to help us. Anyone else? All righty. All right. Public recognition.
We do have
Julie.
Ms. Clayton.
Hello. So I am here to talk about our recent music trip to Chicago. This past couple of days, we left on Sunday and came back last night. We had the opportunity to work with expert music professors from DePaul University, and they ran a clinic for us one day. We were also gaining experience shopping in a big city, so that was very fun. So we were on Michigan Avenue for a little bit and Navy Pier. We also got to see some really neat attractions in the form of the Museum of Science and Industry and the Shedd Aquarium. Students really enjoyed all of the things that we did. They really loved the Shedd Aquarium. That was probably my favorite as well. Some of the things that surprised them is the amount of money that it costs to go to Chicago and buy souvenirs or buy dinner or stuff like that. They are also very surprised by the traffic, which I think helps them appreciate what they have when they come back home. So that's really great. I would just like to thank the board and the administration for allowing us to go on this trip. I think for some of these students, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and maybe it will inspire them to branch out and see more sites throughout the country. So we thank you very much. And I was going to make some sort of pun, and I can't remember what it was, so I'll tell Chris later and he'll let you know.
Good to see the Green River.
We did see the Green River. Oh, that's what it was. We didn't come across too many shenanigans on Sunday. That's what I was going to say. Yes, we did see the Green River, and it was just an enjoyable experience by all. So thank you very much for allowing us to do that.
Yes,
Thank you, Joel. Taking the kids. Thank you. All righty, new business. Approve the date and time of the regular April board meeting. Is there any change desired for the April 17th, 6:30?
I haven't received any. So.
All righty. We will skip on then to B, approve the contract with Grant Smiths to write for the USDA Distance Learning and Telemedicine Grant.
Yeah, this came up on my calendar because I had noticed there was a grant that's available to assist districts that are one-to-one with device replacement. So my thought was referendum passes, referendum fails, either way, securing this grant helps us because we spend on average around $60,000 just with replacement costs. Now, this grant is structured like the grants that we received maybe 2 years ago, where you pay an upfront cost and then they administer. So it's about $9,500 to have them write and administer the grant. Now, if we don't get it, then we're out that $9,500. This company has a 93% success rate with this grant with schools. I asked him to take a look at our demographics, sent those to him, and he looked at it and said, I think your school is in very good shape to apply for this grant. There are several pieces of this grant that we might be able to look at and say, okay, we could do that and that, but the one that really got our attention was the hardware replacement grant. So it is an investment of $9,500, but could have a really big return on that investment with clear touch panels possibly fitting in there, but desktops, laptops, and Chromebooks all fall into that category. So any questions about that? This company does have 2 other grants that we're considering. This grant has the first timeline, like it's due April 30th. So that's why we're looking at this one. There are 2 other ones that we're considering that are less expensive than this, but also if I think that's going to help us, whether the referendum passes or doesn't, I might come back with some of these, but this is the first one.
Board feelings?
93% was what I was waiting to hear.
I had a feeling somebody would ask that question, so I wanted to make sure I knew that for you.
If there's no questions, there's a motion printed there. If somebody would care to move.
I'll move to approve the contract with Grant Smith to write the USDA Distance Learning and Telemedicine Grant as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Pohl,
No.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
C is approve the overnight trip for the FFA this April to South Dakota.
Yep, this is a soil judging contest. This would allow our students to move on to nationals for FFA contest, which I think last year we had some students go to.
Questions?
Can I add real quick to Ms. Van Scandal also shared that this South Dakota school is now open reciprocity with Wisconsin. So they're wanting to work with us a lot to get kids out there.
College you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. Hearing no questions, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the overnight trip for FFA this April to South Dakota as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Henderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We're on to personnel. Approve the hiring of Kim Matthews as the high school head cross-country coach.
Yep, this position was created when we left the tryout with Southwestern Benton. Coach Matthews is our current head track and field coach. Looking forward to working with our cross-country runners as well. So Chris, Carrie, and I all recommend that we approve this.
Would someone move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Kim Matthews as CCHS head cross-country coach as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Henderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approve the hiring of Carter Jorgensen as the middle school head cross-country coach and high school volunteer track and field coach.
Yep, so Carter last year was the volunteer middle school coach. So he'd be moving up to the head coach because he and Kim work pretty well together. And then he also wants to help with track as a volunteer. So again, Chris, Carrie, and I all recommend that we approve this. He's done a wonderful job with our kids.
If there's no questions, I will move to approve the hiring of Carter Jorgensen as the middle school head cross-country coach and high school volunteer track and field coach as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Henderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Committee reports, budget and finances or anything?
Nothing new? No.
Okay. Building and grounds, we spoke about the status of the building project. Personnel, there's no meetings at this time. Policy,
We'll probably have policy at our next board meeting. We've got an update. I think I'm meeting with our policy advisor next week. So then there would be a curriculum meeting in April. We don't have that date yet because I don't know what days Steve's going to be able to make it down here. But in April or May, we'll have a policy committee meeting, and then we'll have it at the April or May board meeting.
okay. Technology, transportation, nothing.
Nope.
Okay. Foundation, you had your meeting in January and I'm sure there's nothing.
Yeah, we won't get it until probably August.
CISA 3, I sent you a message. It was so lengthy, that's just to serve as an example of the amount of information that we get from Jamie Nutter. So if you had a chance to look at all of the things that are going on, it was to serve as better, and it's just an example of all of the different things that they work with. So, if you have any questions about that, why holler. Other than that, I would consider a motion to adjourn.
Oh, we gotta
Go to close.
Yep, go to close.
Consideration of adjourning to closed session pursuant to 1985 1C for the purpose of discussing the evaluation of a school employee. Is there a second? I'll make that motion.
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
White, yes. Schrader,
Yes.
Henderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a good night.